All right, come on stage.
All right. Thank you so much, Jack. And actually, my topic has changed a bit. What's interesting is over the past few days, we have heard some phenomenal speeches that talk about how our content impacts the customer experience. And that is actually the title of my talk today. When we think about the pace of technology change, it is extremely rapid. And in most of our organizations, the things that get the most light and the most attention are the flashiest new products that are out there. For Mastercard, it's everything from your Apple Pay to Selfie Pay to the latest in tokenization and security solutions designed to keep transactions safe and secure. With all of this flurry of new technology happening, it can be very easy for the value of our content and the value of our tech communications team to get lost. So it really is incumbent upon us, those of us in this room as leaders, and let me be clear, when I say leaders, I'm referring to every single person in this room and all of the people who are on the webinar. Because if your organization invested in you taking the time to come to valuable events like this, like LavaCon, then you are someone who's considered a driver, an influencer, and a leader in your organization, regardless of your title. We then have to take the word back about why it is so important to focus on the content and make sure that we're doing things in the right way. So what's really cool is over the last couple of days, we have heard really great talks about why content has a direct impact on the customer experience. It has an impact on their buying decisions, and at the end of the day, the bottom line. So what's kind of cool for me is I really don't have to argue that point. You guys get it. All of the speakers before me really did talk about that. So what it is incumbent upon me to do is to make sure I give you a different perspective. And hopefully in the next 15 minutes or so, share with you a few nuggets that you can take back to your organization to hopefully make a difference and to drive change. Before we can ever talk about if our customers are satisfied or if they're happy, I think it's critical to understand our employees. Because it stands to reason that engaged, motivated employees, those are the employees that deliver with the highest performance. The best example of that I can think of is Southwest Airlines. And many of us probably took Southwest on the way here to New Orleans. If you have any anxiety about flying, I will tell you, walking aboard a Southwest flight is a great experience because of the fact that the flight attendants are very happy, they're telling jokes, you find a really great vibe when you get on there, so it puts you at ease. And they definitely have the secret sauce of making sure that their employees are very happy so that then they deliver the highest quality service to us. So it's pretty cool. And that model is something that we don't need to lose sight of. So we have to understand our employees' journey. Where are the biggest friction points that they face? I will tell you, as leaders, sometimes we can get a bit disconnected from the day-to-day, thinking about the strategy and how we move things forward. But it's so important that we understand. Take the time, sit with your tech writers from time to time, find out what's happening with them, what are their greatest pain points, and how can we make things better. I'm really lucky at Mastercard. My team, they're super smart, and I hope they're watching on the webinar. They actually made the decision long before I came along to make the transition to structured authoring using Data XML. That really laid the foundation for so many of the advancements we've been able to make in the last year or so. And it has really helped us to make sure that we are on the right path. You want to make sure that as you're thinking about that transition, when you look at the volumes of content that you may have, it can seem daunting and overwhelming. You don't want to convert everything. What are the most valuable things that we want to take the time out to convert? And we don't have to do it all ourselves. Do analysis and make the business decision to say, do I use tools? Do I use vendors? Because sometimes it is much more cost effective to do it outside of your organization than to do it inside of the organization. You also want to look at your operating models. A change we made in the last few years, we've actually embedded writers with different product and development teams, especially those teams that are doing agile development. What's wound up happening from that is we find that those writers, not only do they learn a lot more about the product or service, but they are delivering a lot faster because of the fact that they're delivering in an iterative fashion, just the same way that the code is being developed. They're still a part of our team, so they use our tools, our processes, our standards, so that we have the consistency. But what we also found is they're able to really add a lot of value to that product team. Their voices are heard. They're considered as valuable partners on the team within those products. And what winds up happening is that when we can go back and look at the analysis of, can we deliver faster? Can we make sure that in this new model, we're able to, especially with content reuse, we're able to scale effectively without having to increase resources? That brings our business partner along. They like when we can tell them how we're saving costs. And what we'll do with those business partners is we link arms with them to make sure that as we are being advocates and ambassadors throughout the organization for what we do, we have a partner who's with us, who's linking arms, who says, yes, I can tell you for sure what that team does adds a lot of value because we see it, we talk about it, we look at the KPIs and metrics, and we discuss them. Yesterday, there was a great presentation, and it was Dawn Stevens who mentioned there are many organizations that collect and collect and collect different metrics, KPIs, time to market, quality, less rework, but we don't always communicate that out. After you collect those metrics, let's make sure that we're doing something with them. We're sharing them with the right audiences. We're sharing them across, we're sharing them up, we're helping people understand the value that we're adding every day. And that really goes into sharing that story. Yesterday, someone mentioned how difficult it can be as you walk Mahogany Row and talking about with the executives what we're doing from a tech communication standpoint. But I will argue, if we can listen to what those executives are saying, find one, find two, and understand what rings their heartstrings, if it's efficiencies, if it's cost savings, if they're looking at how do we reduce our margins, if you can tell your story and position it in such a way that you can say what I am doing is contributing to your primary focus, to your strategy, your mission and the mission of this organization, my team is aligned to, that will connect them, and that will be that hook in order to make sure that you can then build business partnerships, not just across, but up and throughout the organization. Then we get to the most fun, the customer journey. And that's where things get really complex because our customers keep evolving and changing. At Mastercard, it was a for years, traditional customer of issuers, acquirers. And so we thought we knew how they used their content and we thought we knew what their needs were. But even with them, we don't always know. We have to ask. And in the last few years, we've added on merchants, governments, digital giants, people we're partnering with. So understanding the unique needs of the various customers that we have, it changes all the time. We're lucky enough that 4 times a year we have technical conferences. And the tech communications team and knowledge management team, we participate in those conferences. What's really cool is we get a chance to talk directly to the customers about what's happening. And the way we position those talks is we spend the first half of the conversation sharing with them, here are the things that we've done since we last met together, here are the things that are on our roadmap, and then we shut up. We spend the second half of that session listening. Let's walk through what you're saying. Let's walk through what's your greatest pain points, and let's have a conversation about that. After that conversation, typically what we always do is we go back for the next session or the next tech conference when it comes up again, and we use a format of, we heard you say, and here's how we responded. What that really does is it helps them understand we're listening to you and we're trying our best to address your greatest pain points. I may not be able to solve the world's problems, but at least I can focus on what are the top pain points. It builds a relationship of trust where they respect us and they do understand that at least we're trying to help them make things better relative to getting them the content that we need. Because like I mentioned early on, with all those flashy products and services and new tech innovation, all of that would be meaningless without the information that they need to connect into the products and services, without the tech communications. So over the last year or so, which has been awesome, we partnered with ZoomIn to make lots of really cool changes. And what we went from was a really text-heavy, monolithic, static web page to a very dynamic website that enables our customers to create customized and personalized documentation. So if our customer is particularly a debit issuer and all they really care about is debit cards, they can build in the My Docs function their own collection of content that's meaningful to them, so that they don't have to worry about filtering through all of the other things that they don't necessarily care about. If they're the compliance officer at a particular organization and they only care about what are the mandates and what are the things that I have to do by a certain time, tell me what are those mandates. I can only get to that information. I can create and customize and personalize the information that's most important to me. In the past, the way that we would do this with our old site is we developed lots of little microsites. And I think everybody knows what happens when you do that. What happens when you do that? It's a lot of work, trying to manage it, trying to maintain it, trying to update them, and trying to keep them all consistent. It becomes a bit of a nightmare of your own making. We were able to get away from that and go to where we have this multi-channel dynamic platform where we can deliver to the various customers the information that's important to them. Just this year, we launched our knowledge management portal. And when it comes to knowledge management, we had information scattered throughout the organization in wikis, in OneNote, in just people's heads. And what we discovered is we faced a point where we were coming to a potential brain drain. The generational mix within our organization really set us up where lots of people were eligible to retire. So we faced a risk of tons of knowledge walking out the door. So we knew we had to do something. We had to come up with a unified platform to create and keep and manage and maintain all of that information. And what we've seen happen in previous iterations of people trying to launch knowledge management is they stand up a beautiful platform, they put the knowledge out there, and then no one manages it. And quickly, the information becomes outdated, no one is using it, and then all of a sudden, the value of it plummets. So in partnership, again, with ZoomIn, not only did we stand up a platform, but a process, a governance model, workflows, so that we make sure that we keep that knowledge fresh and we keep it current. Another thing that the team did that was awesome was they established an ongoing reward program that really rewarded people for being knowledge champions and contributing to that content to make sure that what we were doing, that we were keeping it fresh. We integrated it with our CSRs, their screens. So when a customer calls and they were saying, hey, I have a problem with my clearing file. For some reason, when I process clearing file number 2, I got a reject 1, 2, 3, 4, and I want to know what's happening. What happens in the system on the back end is when they see what the topic is, or what the title is, or what their issue is, it scans the knowledge database for that reject 1, 2, 3 for clearing and for any other messages that are in there. And we also have the content tag with metadata, which is nice, a consistent metadata strategy because we are all a part of the same family. And it pulls up the knowledge article that is most relevant and most likely to be the answer to that question. I was explaining to some friends last night at dinner that when we shared this new platform with our customer service reps, it was a room of about 500 people. I heard cheers. People were thrilled. They were excited. They're not only excited about having the knowledge management article, but having the integration within a new, clean, easy-to-find system. If they get the information and they need more, they can link in to say, here's the answer to your question. Was this helpful? So it's interactive, yes or no. Did this help? And if I need to get to more information, I can hot link directly into my clearing system manual. I can read other chapters. I can find out a little bit about if this error came, what were some of the things that happened beforehand that I should have done a little bit better to fully service our customers and help to answer the questions. The last thing that we're working on right now is to target and personalize notifications. So in the example I used before, if I'm only a debit issuer and I only care about debit things that impact me personally, I don't want to get a flurry of notifications because it feels overwhelming. Mastercard, you're telling me about all of these things that you publish, and frankly, I just don't care. I only care about the things that are important to me. Using the new model and the new method, they'll be able to select what are the things you want notifications on so that it only sends you the information that's relevant, important, and personalized for you. We try to strive for design thinking. And one of the things I would encourage you is if your organizations have learning platforms, ask your team to take a class or take a session or two on design thinking. This really helps us understand in a very deep way the customer's experience. It helps us understand what are the things that make a difference to them, and what are the things that, how can we then make a difference? And it helps you in a very iterative process quickly make some changes, perhaps do some prototyping on new websites, and then be able to deliver that to market a lot faster. So I would highly encourage, and I could talk for a long time about design thinking, but the main thing I want to share is when you look at this, be careful. My one caution is you can have customers who will drive you to customizing like crazy. And so just be thoughtful and think about that intersection or the sweet spot between when is it good for our customers and a broad customer base, not just a few, but the broad customers. When is it technically viable? When can I actually make it happen? And when is it viable from a business perspective? And in that intersection where you can, those are the things to focus on. And in that sweet spot, you also want to make absolutely sure that you are building things, hopefully in a very modular format, so that it's not something that you'll get stuck with later on. You have the flexibility. And the last thing I want to show, and I think it's up on the video, is what we have done is our websites are much cleaner today. They're mobile enabled, and you'll see on the, hopefully you can see on the picture there, it just says, what can I help you with? In a Google-like way, what can I share with you that will help you to answer your questions? And the last slide that I have, this is actually a slide that I have poached from my good friends at Zoomin. When I saw this slide a while ago, I thought it was so important, and I wanted to make sure because it really ties into this topic. When we look at the content maturity model and how the business value of our content increases over time, it really goes through different phases. So I think most of us can say today our content is available. We have it out there. And we believe that it's pretty good content. We've gone through exercises where we've scrubbed and we've gotten the right content. We feel like it's good. The second question becomes, is it findable? Can our customers get to the things that they need quickly, or do they have to do lots of searching? As we go up, is our content engaging and is it interactive? Can I ask my customers within my website, did you find this helpful? Was this good? And is there even an opportunity for me to let them add some of their insights? It's amazing the things they know, and we need to make sure that we leverage that. And how do we do that in such a way where we mitigate our risks, but we still also make sure that we're getting as much information and knowledge as possible from our customers? And then the last thing is, how does our content drive business? Can I see through usage patterns if a customer is searching for something on, let's just say the latest in NFC, near field communication technology, and they're looking for new solutions or looking for things, I can see from the patterns, can I, through the ability with my content, offer up to them, did you realize that Mastercard offers these solutions? Enabling some cross-selling opportunities and upselling opportunities. And that's when our content truly becomes a business asset that's driving business value. We have to make sure that we're communicating these messages up and across the organization so that everyone understands the value that we provide as TechCom communicators. Thank you.